I'm an absolute fraud.
Welcome to the Dig Podcast. I am your host, Caroline O'Neill, and I love to discuss all things online marketing, managing money, collaborations, making that killer pitch, and developing that product that will make millions, as well as so many other topics that will inspire you in your business. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Dig Podcast. It's my absolute privilege to speak to thousands of you each week. Remember, I love to know when you've listened, so screenshot the episode and post on social, tagging me on Dig for Success and Dig Mama, and I will reshare with my audience. I'd also love if you could leave a review for the Dig Podcast on whatever your favourite platform is, Apple, Spotify or YouTube. I love to see all your reviews.
So today on the Dig Podcast, it's a little bit different. It's just me. So I wanted to just dive straight in to this topic because it's something that has really affected me recently. I was a fraud. I felt like a fraud is really what I should say. This thing has overcame me recently called Imposter Syndrome. Now, I've heard that word, that term fired about for many a year in business. And to be honest, it was never something that I really understood. Didn't really know what it meant. It hadn't really affected me, so never really found out much more about it. But something happened to me recently where I realized I actually have imposter syndrome, and I'm trying to put things in place to combat that. And since I've started to talk about it openly, which I have done, lots of people are coming forward to saying, that's me, that's how I feel, that's what happened to me, that's how I felt when I was in that situation. So I'm going to tell you about it today on the Dig Podcast. So imposter syndrome is something that, what is the definition of it? Well, I'm just going to tell you my definition of it, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me. To me, it's when you feel like you don't belong, like you're an imposter somewhere, like you're not good enough, like you're a fraud. So since lockdown has eased and restrictions have eased and we've all been able to get out and about to events again, I've been invited to a few things recently. And before lockdown, I had my shop. So for new listeners that don't realize and maybe haven't listened to my podcast story, which is maybe episode 5 or 6, I'll link it here in the show notes anyway. I closed my shop just when COVID hit, and my shop was always my thing that I said. I own Dig Children's Wear. It's my shop. It's in Dungannon. I have it 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I actually had it 12 years when I closed. So it was like my identity, what I was good at, my thing that I said. And when I closed, that was fine. We had 2 years there of lockdown and just doing Zooms and not really being out and about. So recently I went to an event and I walked in and there was a lot of, in inverted commas, prestigious business people, but I'm going to talk about that after as well. And one group of people asked me into their company and they said, so what do you do? And I have no words for what happened to me because I am a very vocal, social person, as you know, if you follow on here or follow me on social media. But I was floored. I felt like I couldn't speak. It was like something out of a film. And I'm not airy-fairy like this. I don't talk about things like this like in a way that isn't real. This was like real life. I felt floored. And for a second, I was like, not a second, it felt like a flipping hour, but I felt like I don't belong here. I am a fraud for being here. I am not worthy of my place here. And it doesn't matter what anyone said to me or what anyone would say to me at that time. That's how I felt. And what is that? That's imposter syndrome. I felt like a fraud. I felt like an imposter in that room that didn't belong. Now, I gathered my thoughts together and I told people what I did, that I helped build businesses using social and help them with their business strategy and their social strategy and marketing strategies. And I do influencer marketing campaigns, and I came out in a big blurb and I don't really know what I said, but again, it's because I felt like a fraud. So I came home that evening and I said it to Jared and he was like, what are you on about? This is not you, and that's not the right behavior for you to be like, right mindset for you to be coming out with. You are as worthy to be in that room as anyone else, and everyone deserves their place at the table. He said that to me. Jared said that to me. And I said, right. So I then went to an event 2 weeks later and I was on a panel And the girl said to me, I'll just say who it was. It was Annette from Little Penny Thoughts, and she asked me to speak at her event. And she said, Caroline, would you like to tell the crowd what you do? And I got hit with it again. And I was like, what am I? Who am I? I don't even deserve to be here. I don't have anything. I've lost my business. I closed my business. I'm not a worthy person for people to listen to. What, like, when I'm even saying that out loud, that is shocking. The thoughts that enter your head as a business owner and as someone who is out in circles where you feel like people are better, the thoughts are sometimes hard to bear. So I came home that night and I said, like, it was really starting to affect my confidence. I went to an event a week later for Mid-Ulster Council, and I was driving over to Marfelt, and I remember those thoughts creeping in, like, why are they even asking me to speak at this? I used to speak at these things when I had my shop. I do not belong over here. I am a fraud. So here's what's happened in the past few weeks. I have been trying really hard. I'm working really hard. And I want anyone that's listening to this now that feels like that. Sometimes it feels like they aren't good enough, or why would anyone want to listen to me? Or why would anyone invite me to speak? Or why would anyone ask me to sit at their table? Here's what I've been doing to try and help me. And I want you to do it too. I want you, number one, to look back on your achievements. Use your social media, perhaps, as it's like a diary. You've kind of recorded all the good stuff there. Look back and say, I did this. Look what I've done here. Look who I met at this. Look where I went on that day and who I met. Look at that event I spoke at. Look at that connection I made. Look at that celebration that we did for my business. I want you to write them down. And that's what I did. And just a wee notebook. I've got millions of notebooks lying around, and I just scribbled it down. All the things in the past year, 2 years, 3 years that I had done. And I thought, no, I can't let this affect me and affect my confidence. I need to start thinking of those things when I feel like that, when I feel like a fraud, when I feel like I'm not good enough to be there. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, and I've written down my notes here in case I forget, the different things that I wanted to talk to you about, is speak positively to yourself. Like, I am not the type of person that takes time for my mindset or anything like that. But honestly, when you talk to yourself in a positive way about who you are and how good you are at what you do and how you do deserve your place at that table, it actually does start to take hold of your actions and makes you behave differently. And I spoke to my family, I spoke to my mummy, and I spoke to Jared about it, and they reinforced that positive mindset that I needed to get myself out of that hole, because who knows where that would have taken me if I had let that spiral. And I want to say now that you must remember that everyone, and this is what I say to myself every day, everybody is equal. It doesn't matter what someone supposedly has material-wise, a success they have in their business, what path they're on, who their connections are. We are all the same. No one is any better than anyone else. And I keep saying that. I deserve to be in a room with, business people, and no one deserves to feel like they don't deserve their place at the table. We all absolutely do. And then also, I think part of that is surrounding yourself with positive people that reinforce those thoughts. So people that build you up is so important. We all should be building each other up. No one should be tearing each other down. We should all be helping others believe they are good enough and that they do deserve their place at the table. So I want to finish off with saying there may be times still in the next months and years that I will feel like a fraud, but I am going to try to remember these tips that I've given you today. And I often hear people speak about the imposter syndrome when they go to post on social. And why would someone want to listen to me? Like, who am I, and why would they care? And I just say to you that you are worthy of that audience. You have built that audience. You have asked them, invited them onto your page on Facebook, on Instagram, and LinkedIn, and they have decided to follow you because they do think you're worthy of them. And you absolutely are. You are as good. And if not, no one's better than anyone else, but you are as good and at the top of your game as anyone else. And if someone has 100,000 followers on social media, it means nothing, because we're all equal. And it doesn't mean they're better at what they do than you. It doesn't mean that, they deliver a better service or they have a better product. It's only numbers. And at the end of the day, we are all equal. We all deserve our place at the table. None of us are frauds. And we have to remember that every day if we want to keep succeeding and keep getting out there and networking and bringing opportunity to your door. So I want to thank you for listening to the Dig podcast today. I know my title was a little shocking, but it's a common topic and it's not something I ever thought that I would be hit with, but it just shows you that it affects everyone at certain times, but we can't let it dictate how we continue on our personal and our business journey. So I hope that's helped you today. Take those tips with you and don't let anyone ever make you feel, or don't let yourself make you feel that you aren't worthy of your place at the table.
Remember, if you do listen to an episode, screenshot it and share it on social. Remember to tag me so that I see it and I can reshare on my platform. I love to see everyone tuning in each week. It has been an honour to be your host. I look forward to our next episode.